Hello and welcome to the ThreeWill podcast. This is Danny Ryan. I'm here with Tommy Ryan, the president and co-founder of ThreeWill, for our weekly discussion. Thanks for joining me, Tommy.
Thanks for having me again, Danny.
Absolutely. And as we were preparing for today's podcast, we were talking about one of the blog posts that you've been working on, and putting together that blog post was sort of had to do with a recent article that was put out from Zappos about company culture. And when I was reading through it, I was noticing sort of it was one of the underlying themes, or one of the concepts that was a key part of this article was the whole idea of self-organizing teams. What can you just sort of maybe get us kicked off and start telling us what is a self-organizing team?
Well, the article talks about a concept of holacracy, and when you start reading about this, and it starts talking about bosses and the teams self-organize, it's around kind of flattening the structure of how work gets done, within the organization, and that teams are the ones that are going after their domain of responsibilities that they have. And when you look at it in the ThreeWill world, it's our teams that are on projects. That's probably the biggest or the most common teaming aspect in our organization is a delivery team that's assigned to a project. Mm-hmm. And the way our lens of how that team gets things done is through an agile Scrum methodology, and fundamental to that is self-organizing teams. They sign up for the work, they are committed to the work, and in order for that to work, you need to facilitate a common kind of set of terminology and artifacts and process around that. And agile is the way that we self-organize around a problem domain for our customer.
Mm-hmm. In some of this, it sounds like a lot of this started when you were at W.L. Gore, the concept of not having a boss and more of like a sponsor, which we've carried on here at ThreeWill, have the same concept where you're working with a sponsor. Tell me a little bit more about moving from being, having this hierarchy of having a boss that you report to having a sponsor. What's the difference? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Well, the history of how that came about at W.L. Gore and Associates is the founder of Gore, Bill Gore. He was a research chemist at DuPont, and he, essentially learned the way of hierarchy through the experience of DuPont. And when he invented a certain it was Teflon essentially, and he found application for that and wanted to create a product. And DuPont said, "We're a raw materials company, we're not a product company." So he bought the patent, went off and started his company. And as he started his company, he saw all the things that were kind of breaking down the efficiency of getting things done within an organization that comes through having very strict hierarchical organizations. Mm-hmm. So he came up with what he called the lattice structure. And so it allowed people to work together one-on-one. And you didn't have this chain of command in terms of if I needed to talk to so-and-so, I didn't need to talk through his boss's boss's boss to get to that individual. It was one-on-one, expert to expert, the person that has a need, the person that has the answer, to be able to make that connection and get things done. So that's the concept at Gore of why they had this kind of one-on-one structure. And when you start using the term boss, that all of a sudden starts creating a hierarchy. Mm-hmm. It starts creating who are you reporting up to. And their environment, they flipped that. They said, we don't have bosses, we have sponsors. And the sponsor's working for that individual and is breaking down the barriers for their success in the organization. So it's someone that, you can mentor them, someone that knows how the company works and how things get done, and has an interest of that person being successful. So, that really, to me, seemed to be the right thing. It seemed to be the way to run a company and organize in a company. And so that was an early concept for us. It was from the beginning without even knowing anything about Agile. But it plays in well and matches well with Agile, where you do not have a project manager, you have a Scrum Master. And the Scrum Master is the servant leader within that group that's facilitating the process of Agile, making sure, are we doing it the way we've agreed to do it as an organization?
Yep.
And how things get done is you have self-motivated people that pick up things off that backlog and have pride in getting it done versus being told to do it, not really having any say in terms of I'm interested in doing this. You're bringing a team of skilled people that care about the problem you're going after, and they naturally want to solve it, and they do it in a way that ends up having better results, better morale in the team, and overall, our clients see that and recognize that.
One of the interesting things, sort of jump back, and I want to come back to this. It's almost like nowadays you're used to the concept of, like with a lot of the social networking tools that you have, of having a communication to the top. So this whole idea of anyone can talk to anyone, I think more recently with a lot of the way the social network is set up, is you can have those direct conversations, which just sounds like he was doing that very early on. He was saying, let's break that down,
right,
and allow for that to occur. And it has its own set of issues that, once you have that one, it's just not a perfect world, but it does allow for, and does empower an individual, and it does allow for I think the leadership to not be in a place where they've got their yes men surrounding them, and where they're not hearing from people about how to improve. The other thing, I think you were picking up on this in the article, which was, this doesn't work for everybody. There are people who want to show up to work and to have a boss and someone telling them what to do next. How does that impact sort of how we recruit the people who work out here at ThreeWill? How does that impact us?
Yeah, it's true. I don't think it's something that fits all organizations and all endeavors to not have hierarchy. But in the world that we're in, we think it really plays well to have a self-motivated individual that cares about getting something done without being told to do that, without being given very detailed instruction, that they can, exercise their creativity, exercise their resourcefulness to solve the problem, and create an environment that we support them in that learning process of how to contribute within a self-organizing team. When it comes to recruiting, we're looking for folks that are really frustrated with being in an environment where there's more kind of excuses to get things done to actually get things done. So what ends up being sometimes a red flag for us is we see someone at a very large organization for a very long time, and wondering, well, why didn't they get the itch to try to do something in a smaller team and a smaller environment? Because what we're doing is it's very small teams. So that's something that comes up, and we try to get a sense of, what do you think about your environment at XYZ company, large Fortune 500 company, and kind of see if there is that desire of, I get frustrated with being in an environment that I can't get things done because I want to contribute, and sometimes there's punishment in some of those environments to contribute versus kind of hide, in a sense. And in our environment, no one can hide. And that's another aspect of a small company and in small teams that serve clients, is no one's behind, in the back room. Everybody is really on the front line. So that can be nerve-wracking, or that could be energizing.
Yeah.
So we try to tease that out of, does that excite you? Because we want you here because you want to be here. The free will aspect of our shared value of free will is you're choosing to be in this type of crazy environment. For some people, it seems crazy. Why would you want to do that? But some people say, I wouldn't want it any other way. I feel really engaged at work, and I wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah, there's some people who've been sort of locked in that cage for so long. I almost, when you look at having them come here, it's like, I'm going to give you so much freedom, your head's going to explode. Can you handle that? There's nobody here. Everybody here is we're not here to cause, every day we're going to talk about how to break impediments down. We're going to talk about, and really the motivation here is not, it's about not letting the team down. It's about, and for people who care about wanting to help another team member out, that's your motivation. That's why you're doing what you're doing, is because you really want to serve others. You just, at the end of the day, you're looking at this and saying, you know what, I signed up for this, and I can't let my team members down. And I think a lot of people hear that's what highly motivates them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're really looking for a bunch of servant leaders.
Yeah.
We really think everyone in some form within ThreeWill are leaders, are taking on things and having passion around being an expert in something, or being a scrum master for the team, or being a tech lead for a team. And the way that's done is not through a hierarchical reporting structure, but it's roles and responsibilities of, I'm going on this project as say the team lead, and that comes with responsibility. And it's not really focused on people reporting to me as much as what am I doing to make the team successful.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, maybe to wrap this up, tell me a little bit more about, can anybody be a sponsor? Tell me a little bit more about, and how do you become a sponsor, and tell me just a little bit more about sponsorship, and we'll wrap this up.
Yeah. And so sponsors at ThreeWill, it's someone that's been at ThreeWill long enough to understand the culture of ThreeWill and how things get done. And usually we're looking for someone that can help someone grow. And it doesn't have to be someone that's older, but someone that has some experience in that area, that person wants to be pushed in that direction, that they can get that support to stretch themselves and grow. Mm-hmm. So we're really looking for, where is that person in their growth curve? What type of support and coaching do they need to move to their next level of growth? Mm-hmm. And who's best equipped within ThreeWill's environment to provide that? And so, that, and when we do sign sponsorship, it's got to be someone that's got to be committed to helping that person be successful when we're all busy. So we limit people to usually no more than 3 people that they're sponsoring, so that they can spend the time that they need to do to help with career path and help with areas of growth.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time to do this. I think it was a great culture/people subject. And, for folks who are listening, I know we are hiring right now. So if you're listening to this podcast, feel free to drop by our website where we have the active job listings that are out there. Take a look at that. And we have descriptions of those roles. If you're interested in really wanting a different type of environment, I think the environment that we have here, some of the things that Tommy's been talking about really interest you, and you want to be a part of this, drop by the website. You can apply online. We look forward just to having some conversations. The technology is important to us, but I think even more important to us is to building upon and growing this culture. So if you want to become a part of this, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this today. Thank you, Tommy, for being here.
You're welcome, Danny.
Absolutely. We'll see you next week. We'll pick up with another subject, and everybody have a great day. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.